Good morning. It's always exciting to be here at State Annual Meeting. It is a great opportunity to see old friends, make new friends, and do some serious work on behalf of our fellow farmers all across New York State. I greatly appreciate the time that you are spending here away from your farms and families, and I thank you for your commitment to New York Farm Bureau. I would also like to take a moment to remember those who are no longer with us. We lost some wonderful people this year, including Allegheny County Farm Bureau President Ernie Ramsey and Ron Zaire, who served 3 terms as Lewis County President. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor those with a commitment and passion for agriculture who was passed on this year. Thank you. I've had the privilege of standing before you many times as your president. It is always humbling experience knowing you have put your trust and faith in me to lead this great organization. This time of year is always a great opportunity for me to reflect about the work we do and why we do it. Certainly, we all join New York Farm Bureau for our own personal reasons. For me, it goes straight to my family. As most of you know, as Eric has said, I grew up in a dairy farm in Elba that is still in my family today. Then I learned the values of hard work, the importance of caring for the land and the animals, and what it means for a family to stick together in tough times and to celebrate the good times together as well. These are the same things that I want for my children, for your children. There is great worth in what each one of us does every day. That is why I am here today. Why are you here today? That is a question I would like each of you to ponder while you're here at State Annual Meeting. I promise you, if you connect with the answer, it can only help to motivate even more your support for Farm Bureau's efforts. Much of what makes our organization so strong comes from you, the counties. Without healthy county Farm Bureau organizations, the State Farm Bureau would not be as successful as it is. I take great pride when I see the innovative work many of you are undertaking at the local level. Take Livingston County, for instance. This past October, they held Farm Fest at Coin Farms in Avon. Over 1,200 people turned out on the most cold, miserable, rainy day that you could have in October. But members put a lot of time and effort into making that event a success. These days on the farm not only get Farm Bureau's name out in the public, but it helps to educate consumers about food and farming. Consumers who are becoming increasingly removed from farm life and may have misconceptions about what we do and how we do it. This year, Lewis County doubled their attendance from their previous day on the farm and also held 3 Meet the Candidate forums before the general election in November. This is a great way to cement relationships with current and new leaders in your community who make decisions on issues that affect your businesses. Jefferson County worked closely with a local YNN reporter to produce a week's worth of feature stories about life and work on a dairy farm. It was an accurate and interesting profile of modern animal agriculture that we don't see too often on our airwaves. Here's just a small clip of the outstanding stories.
And for many farmers, all their hard work is to ensure a clean, healthy farm. A healthy farm is a profitable farm. And as we continue this week-long look at farm life, Brian Dwyer takes a look at how farms keep up on the health of their animals.
A Friday morning in early June, North Harbor Dairy welcomes a baby calf into the world.
It's good to see new life on the farm every day and how healthy they are. And it's good to see the guys that deliver these calves take pride in it as well.
And part of that is health care. It'll take about a half an hour until this little one can learn to stand. But immediately after, the farmers have to make sure it gets what is known as colostrum. It's the first milk from the mother.
The colostrum is loaded with antibodies. Any diseases or any vaccinations that we provided to the cow, any thing that she's been exposed to in her lifetime, she generates antibodies.
A preventative measure that Babcock says is more powerful than anything in his bag. It's care that continues as the baby starts to grow.
How about a round of applause for Jefferson County and that initiative? Madison County greeted our state board this past summer, showing off the many great things going on in their area. It was a big undertaking that involved many volunteers, and I know myself and the board can't thank them enough for their hospitality. Madison was also hard at work, passing out more than 200 barn signs to members. Again, an easy way to connect with those of us out in the public, but also a simple way to connect with our members. Many of our counties, like Montgomery and Saratoga counties, held Sunday on the farm events. School children are invited with their parents, and many times it is an opportunity for our local farms to sell some of their great products that they make. Rensselaer County hosted Farm Night at the Tri-City Valley Cats baseball game in Troy, and even throughout the first pitch. A few thousand people in attendance were able to connect with Farm Bureau that night. There are truly countless more activities that take place at the county level. Way too many for me to mention, but hopefully these help you understand the value of having an active county Farm Bureau. All of this should serve as inspiration for each of us to do our part to maintain this strength. But why? Why is there strength in numbers? You only have to look at the success over the past year to realize what Farm Bureau can do. This time last year, we solidified our priority to lower the agricultural assessment cap from 10% down to 2%. We then lobbied hard, as many of you came to March during Lobby Day in Albany to meet with representatives and showcase your great products at the most popular reception on the Capitol. Nearly 700 of you emailed the governor asking him to sign the assessment cap legislation. You never let up until the governor took out his pen and put his signature on this legislation. This will help control rising property taxes on all of our farms, regardless of size or convention. This was an issue where we had common ground, and by working together, we achieved great success. In all, New York Farm Bureau ushered 20 bills through the state legislature this year, working with key leaders, including Governor Cuomo, Senator Patty Ritchie, Assemblyman Bill McGee, and we are currently meeting with governor's staff and the Department of Budget to ensure next year's agricultural agenda is just as good as this year's agricultural agenda. Part of that success also comes from the New York Farm Bureau Political Action Committee, Farm New York PAC. Through your increased donations, we have been able to educate more lawmakers than ever before. It is just one more way for you to increase your participation in New York Farm Bureau and drive home the need for a responsive government that listens to the will of the people. On a national level, our efforts were successful. As Dale Moore mentioned yesterday, Lois Salt, a West Virginia poultry farmer, took on the EPA and won. A West Virginia court ruled that ordinary stormwater that Alt's farmyard is exempt from the national discharge permit requirements. The EPA had threatened her with tens of thousands of dollars in fines for things that were not in her control, like rainwater coming into contact with a chicken feather. New York Farm Bureau contributed to her legal defense fund. It's important to remember that a victory for Lois was a victory for all of us. You never know when any one of our farms could be wrongly targeted. It's why we need a strong Farm Bureau who can quickly fight back on your behalf. Some of our victories weren't about what we won, but rather what we prevented. There are many pieces of legislation that have passed as they were written, would have had profound impacts on farm life as we know it. Some of those issues will undoubtedly come back again. One of these will be the Omnibus Farm Worker Labor Bill. The bill last year would have meant mandatory overtime beyond a 40-hour work week, a mandatory day of rest despite the farm workers' willingness to work, and collective bargaining rights, just to name a few. This bill passed the Assembly with many downstate lawmakers voting for it. Many of those same lawmakers did not even take the time to speak to one farmer about what kind of havoc this would create for your farm and for your employees. Again, you were hard at work, holding legislative meetings with anyone who would listen. We had a letter writing campaign that sent thousands of emails to Albany. We peppered the press with letters to the editor. We attended and immediately responded to Speaker Silver's press conference where he compared our workers to farm animals. Downright offensive to me, and we aren't about to put up with that kind of offensive nonsense. Fortunately, we have found some reasonable people in Albany. One of them is Senator Diane Savino. She is from Staten Island and chairs the Senate Labor Committee. Some of you may have heard her speak at our Commodities Summit this past summer. We have had numerous conversations with her behind the scenes. Plus, she just spent 2 full days touring member farms in Schoharie and Delaware counties. I would like to thank all of her hosts, including Delaware County Farm Bureau President Dwayne Martin, who did a lot of work helping to prepare for her visits. It is always our aim to have an open dialogue with lawmakers, if they are willing to educate themselves about what we do, but we have to be willing to listen to them as well. With the political climate being what it is in Albany at times, New York Farm Bureau has to be prepared to advance our member-approved policies. We have been successful time and time again, and with your input here this week, we will do the same on the farm labor issue as well. Speaking of challenges, we are facing a possible second year without a new farm bill in place. We have been strongly advocating for immigration reform that will give our farms a stable legal workforce they need to operate and grow. Also on the federal level, we are actively preparing for the expected OSHA audits on many of our dairy farms. We've been working with a number of our partners and holding workshops across the state to educate our farms about what to expect. And Farm Bureau is coordinating comments on the Food Safety Modernization Act that FDA is looking to roll out. We need to make sure our farms are protected from overly burdensome regulations that don't take science into account when setting safety standards. Having the credibility and clout that we possess in Washington and Albany comes from you. For without you, our members, there is no Farm Bureau. The advocacy and education work that we do so well would cease. The unified voice that represents every farmer would be silent. Think about that. What would life be like if there was no Farm Bureau? It's a scary thought for me. Yet we are faced with challenges every year to increase membership. Many people take it for granted that we will always be around. They count on reaping the benefits of a Farm Bureau victory regardless if they send in their membership application. Or they may simply disagree with us on one or two issues, but fail to realize there are many more things that we agree upon as an organization. Every farmer wants the same things: to grow or raise a quality product and to be able to make a living off the land that they care for. It doesn't matter your size, your convention, or your style. Every farmer has the same issues with regulations and red tape. Every farmer faces the same economic challenges, be they transportation costs or high taxes. Every farmer has a passion for what they do and how they do it. All of these reasons and more are why every farmer should be a Farm Bureau member. I challenge each of you that when the work of this week is over, to go back to your counties and keep up the work for membership. It is crucial that we maintain a solid organization for the betterment of all of us. This is especially important as some of our members are beginning to retire from farming and young and beginning farmers look to take their place. We have a proud tradition here at New York Farm Bureau, the oldest farm bureau in the country. We have been around for more than a century working to serve and strengthen agriculture. And there is still much to be done if we want to be here 100 years from now. A big partner in our membership efforts has been Nationwide Insurance. Their agents have taken a real interest in the county farm bureaus and have signed up hundreds of new members across the state. I've had the privilege of getting to know many of the hardworking people at Nationwide, from my local agent all the way up to the company's chairman, Mr. Keith Eckel, and he will be here with you tonight. Like us, they have members, not customers. And they too have strong values that I have seen firsthand. One just needs to know that the Ohio Farm Bureau founded Nationwide Insurance. Earlier this year, while attending a nationwide meeting in Columbus, Ohio, I had the opportunity to tour Nationwide's Children's Hospital there. And as a parent, I gotta say, it was heartbreaking to see so many sick kids who are dealing with so much in their young lives. But at the same time, there's a real comfort in knowing that there was a great place for them to go to receive world-class medical care. I had the opportunity to see a young baby that was born 4 months premature, who is now thriving in his parents' arms. It was a moment for me seeing that Nationwide is giving back to improve the health and well-being of their community, but also gratifying to me to know that they are our partners. But we cannot expect Nationwide success in signing up new members to be the answer to turning the ship around. We need farmers to spread the word themselves. That means you in this room. When you're talking with your neighbors, bring up where you were this week and talk about it if you have a Facebook page or you're tweeting like Miss Dills down here. Perhaps write a letter to the editor of your hometown newspaper expressing the importance of New York Farm Bureau. Simply ask yourself, what can I do to make this farm organization even better? If we don't take it upon ourselves to get the word out about what we do and why, who will? We have a great framework. Just last month, AFBF awarded New York Farm Bureau all 6 awards of distinction. They signify successes in the categories of member services, membership initiatives, education and outreach, leadership development, policy development and implementation, and public relations and communications. These awards are a direct reflection of you and the work that goes on at the county level. They are also highlights of our amazing staff and our board of directors who work hard for you because of the example that you have set. To move us forward, the board and staff recently completed a strategic planning process. The state board and staff received input from 46 out of 52 counties, and I want to thank you for that. That is an amazing, amazing amount of return. It further defines our goals and sets us on a path of moving forward as an organization. It will increase our effectiveness, expand our messaging, and put us on an even stronger financial footing, all pillars of a successful organization. There are 8 goals in all, with objectives to fulfill each one of them. I will quickly run down the list. The first involves policy advocacy, empowering our members to be the voice of agriculture. The second focuses on membership. New York Farm Bureau wants to increase its membership numbers and the degree of member involvement. Our third goal takes a look at programs and services that have value to you, our members. The fourth is strengthening our efforts to advance a positive image for both agriculture and Farm Bureau. The fifth goal has to do with our youth programs and attracting and developing future leaders. We want to provide premier social and professional networking opportunities for our young farmers and future leaders. Plus, we want to establish a pathway to Farm Bureau membership through 4-H, FFA, Collegiate Farm Bureau, and other groups. Next is using Farm Bureau as the unifying catalyst for agriculture in the state and providing the insight and leadership necessary to ensure the success of farming in our communities. This includes identifying and expanding commonality among agricultural and like-minded groups and works towards common goals. It also means expanding our leadership and influence among farm, rural, and business groups and demonstrates our relevance in regard to agriculture and rural issues. The seventh goal is to develop a strong and diverse revenue-generating programs. And finally, Farm Bureau will continue to maintain and enhance a strong grassroots organizational structure through representative governance and county Farm Bureau leadership, and that means through you. I'm excited to see where this next year will take us. Will we finally have much-needed immigration reform and a farm bill that will give some certainty to the farm and food policy in this country? And what changes will we secure in Albany that will make it easier for every farm and every farmer to run a business in this great state? May you continue to have spirited conversations and remember that when all is said and done, every farmer is stronger with a unified Farm Bureau. Finally, Melanie and I and the kids would like to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. There's nothing better than family, and I hope you all have a wonderful and safe holiday season. Thank you.